And welcome to a special breaking news narrative live. It's 9:40 at night. This is not the time we are normally together. But hello, Nick Parrow, military analyst that everyone knows you from Banner and Backbone and Sick of This Shit Productions. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining me in this as we try to explain some breaking news that we've just uncovered regarding the video that Donald Trump sent out today. And we'll get to that in a second. But first, Nick, tell me a little bit about your reaction to today's extraordinary shooting and the narrative manipulation that we've been seeing from the
Yeah,
administration.
yeah, absolutely, Zev. Thanks for having me on with you tonight. And I think your um, your publication's name is becoming more and more on point as we go along. Is the narrative, and then what I saw from all of this is propaganda. Is an attempt to an Orwellian attempt to write a narrative of do not believe what you see with your eyes, but what we tell you with our mouths, and believe the party over anything,
Mhm,
and believe the state over anything. And we saw a woman get murdered today
mhm.
in Minneapolis. We saw a woman get shot in the back of the head while
Yeah,
trying to get herself out of a situation that she was trying to leave. She was told, from the sound of it, was she was told to leave by at least one ICE officer, and then somebody else killed her.
yeah.
And
You're talking about
we saw
37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. That's her name. She's the mother of a 6-year-old, we're finding out this evening. She was there, apparently, trying to just alert local residents that ICE were in the neighborhood, although we don't have full confirmation of that exact thing. What we do know is that she was surrounded at some point by she was in a car and she was surrounded by three ICE agents, and one of them trying to open her car door. She decided to get away from the scene as anyone would want to. So she does this very clear 3-point turn. I mean, it's a 4-point turn. I can't even sit there. You'll go through the video in a second. But then she makes her escape and is shot while leaving the scene, not of a crime, of leaving the scene of the street. I mean, can you imagine
yeah,
ICE agents just showing up because you just pulled out of your driveway, whatever it is, you're blocking the street, and you're not listening to their orders, so they pull out their weapons and shoot you in the head. And
we
this is
had
what,
to
yeah,
we
go ahead.
had more training on rules of escalation and how to actually handle shooting at someone in an armed conflict zone in
Hmm.
Afghanistan. We had to go through more steps of escalations of force before shooting someone than the police or ICE or any law enforcement agency in the US has ever had to do.
Yeah,
And that we're seeing become on, like, it was appalling before this woman got shot. Like, not too long ago, what, a month or two ago, another woman in Minnesota got shot
correct.
multiple times in her car by ICE agents, and she's lucky to be alive. And now we have a woman dead, just who was just there, like you said, as I part of ICE Watch was what I heard of, some sort of neighborhood watch. Basically, is the sound of it is to warn friends and neighbors and others of ICE in your local area, and that's protected First Amendment speech. This woman, Renee Nicole Good, was murdered with zero due process, with no escalatory or de escalation techniques put into place. She was just shot
Yeah.
for doing nothing, for escalate, for putting it for, sorry, not for using her First Amendment rights. She didn't have a gun with her, that is reported. She didn't even have her Second Amendment rights being used. She could have been armed. That's not a death sentence in the US.
There's no
Having a
reason
weapon
for
in your hand is not a
nothing.
death sentence.
Yeah.
And driving your car away from a scene after being told to is not a death sentence.
Yeah. I'm not even sure that driving at a police officer would be considered okay to shoot her when she's not even in the middle of she's not a criminal. She's just in the middle of the streets. I'm not saying that you can do
If
that, but
there is a true fear of death from
mhm,
an officer, like if
mhm,
somebody is coming into, say, a crowd and ramming the police, or
mhm,
going straight at the police and you know they're going to ram you, you're still not going to shoot them.
No,
There's
you wouldn't.
better alternatives. You're going to shoot their tires. You're going to get them. You're going to make the vehicle do something and not kill the person, because the last option should always
Yeah.
be to kill somebody. Like, that should always be the last, not the first. This was his first choice.
How many, getaway cars have we seen from crime scenes being followed for hours by local police and local television stations when nothing is done to stop them until they've stopped? And this is a woman who is parked, is not moving, trying to get away from what seems to be the danger there, which is the ICE agents themselves. Now, what we're revealing tonight for the first time is Donald Trump issued a statement and a video on Truth Social earlier on today. That video, when we aired it with Dean Blundell during the Five Stack, raised a lot of questions in my mind. Something just seems really off in that video. So I've spent a little bit of the last couple of hours just analyzing what it is that he gave everyone. I'll first give everyone the backdrop here. This is, let me see if I can pull it up in a more readable way. This is the Truth Social. Oops, sorry, 1 second. That's what happens when you're a one-man TV band. There we go. So this is the Trump Social statement that he put out. I've just viewed the clip of the event, which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator. We now think maybe it was a relative of hers. We're not sure there. And the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obviously not, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. It goes on, to say here, based on the attached clip, and then I'll show you the clip in a second, it is hard to believe that he is alive. This is the agent is alive. He's saying that it's hard to believe the ICE agent is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied. It is entirely in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting the law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe. They are trying to do the job. Our agents are trying to do that. We need to stand and protect the law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate. President Donald J. Trump. So his narrative here is that, and it lines up with the same narrative that Kristi Noem had earlier on, is basically that this woman, it rammed into the police officers in an attempt to violently and viciously attack them. I mean, that's basically suggesting, to hurt them dramatically. Now, that is not happening, but that did not happen. But when you look at the video that he attached, and this is going to take a little bit of, patience here as we pull up each of these separately, because they're not available in the right formats here. But this is the video that he attached. And so you can't hear the sound on that, but I can play it up for you a little louder here, I think.
One of the things we notice that I see in it is it's slowed down. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going to talk about all of this, and I want to hear all your thoughts around the analysis that you've been doing on this, because my impression is it's slowed down. We can hear it when the video goes. The audio doesn't really match up to anything that was otherwise posted, and it was live streamed. Like, this whole entire event was live streamed.
I didn't realize it was from a live stream. I didn't see that part.
Basically, like, the second it happened, people went live. Like, people were going, and I think people were recording live when it happened, but I can't confirm that, but I know, like, immediately after, YouTube was filled with live, and they were all videos not from this angle.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, that he chose this
worst.
Yeah, he chose this really strange angle to send out. I'm sure he'd seen the others, but then he chose that one to send out. The actual shooting video, which we'll show you now, and sorry, it's just switching on its own.
You can't even see the shooting from this video.
No, you can't, and that's one of the things that I think he's done. And I'll explain all the the distortion efforts and the ways they've tried to do this. But here's the highest quality, cleanest video we have of the actual shooting. This is the angle he could have shown. Notice how the officer grabs the handle, she reverses, then does a 2-point turn almost, and then only gets away. And you see that the officer who did the shooting at the front of the car.
And nobody was in front of the
Yeah,
car.
nobody.
She didn't try and she clearly tried to avoid that officer.
Yeah,
She clearly tried to avoid all of them.
and she did
And
it. She did
without a
avoid him.
yeah, and without a warrant, you do not just get to pull somebody randomly out of a vehicle.
No,
You don't just get to pull somebody out without you don't have probable cause. They wouldn't even have probable
it
cause
just
at that
seems
time. She's
ridiculous that she
sitting
would
in
have
her
you
vehicle doing nothing.
approaching a car and trying to open it when she's surrounded by ICE agents. Where's exactly is she going to go? She wasn't moving at the time either, which is just so interesting. Now, what Donald Trump has done with the video that he has issued, as you pointed out correctly, he slowed it down. So he took this very fast video and he slowed it down to to maybe half the speed is what we think it is. When I sped it up, it landed up looking like it was half the speed. So what you're getting is a very blurred out sequence of events. And not only that, as you point out, it's taken from a very strange angle. It's not the angle you'd expect to see anyone was sharing, because it's so weird. Like, it's so out of the way when there were so many better angles. I'll try to show it to you again here. This is the Donald Trump video again, slowed down as it is. Now, the audio, as you also point out, is slowed down at a different rate than the video. So you're actually getting, even when I sped it up to match the other video, and I'll show you the split screen in a second, the audio was still slowed down. So someone went in there and manipulated both the audio track and the video track separately. Now, that could be
And
that
then
they were
put
trying
them
to
together.
hide the sequence of events, or maybe trying to muffle those screams you heard at the beginning of the video. Now, the other thing that he's done here is he has compressed it, really, really compressed it, and then sent it through Rumble. Now, Rumble is the YouTube of the right wing, basically. It started by Peter Thiel a few years ago. It's run out of Toronto for some bizarre reason. And it's full of Benny Johnson and that kind of content, and, free speech. Go to it. People want to watch that stuff. It's fine. But why is the president taking a piece of video that he's sharing with the nation about a serious national security issue that's happening, taking a poorly compressed, very blurry piece of video from Rumble, which is basically a Russian, I don't know if it's Russian owned, but the ownership is of Russian origin, and then sharing that with Truth Social viewers and readers? This is the video that he's sharing. This is his version of events as he'd like you to believe it. And then he goes on to do two other things. So he's not only slowed it down, he's compressed it, and then he's taken it through Rumble's compression, and then he's also cropped it. So you don't get the full video. You get a little bit less than the full outlines of the video. That may be for various reasons. We don't know. But all those things to do to a piece of video, when you've got this really clean, very easy to see what happened other angle, it's hard to explain.
So go back, if you can go back on that video. There is with that bad one, because
Yeah.
I think I can see the moment of why they use this video, because you can see the ICE agent in the front,
Yeah.
and right as she's pulling away from this angle, it looks like the vehicle pushes him.
It does. Because
That's why they
it's
used
so
it.
blurry, it's been so compressed and so
Yeah.
manipulated that you can't actually see what's going on. And I'm going to, as we talk here, try to show you another view of it that helped me solidify that opinion as well. But it does look like she's running into the ICE officer that's in the front of her car. But that's not what happens, as we can see in the real video, legitimate video. That's not what happens. Just keep talking for a second here while I try find you
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so right as the vehicle's turning, it looks like it, and that's out almost, if you look at when we look at the other videos, that lines up pretty closely to when he shoots her.
Yeah,
Is at that point. He had his it looked like on the other videos, he had his gun out very fast, very quick. Like,
yeah,
he was prepared, as this was his first action. It wasn't his second or third option. It wasn't, oh, I'm going to get out of the way for my own safety and then shoot her tire or something like that in some sort of correct, trained, law enforcement technique or military or policing technique. That's not what they've done. They're not trained to do that. And all they're trained to do is pull the trigger.
Yeah.
They're trained to be lawless and just shoot people. And we've been saying this was going to happen at some point. And unfortunately, it has now.
Yeah, and I wanted to show you exactly what's going on here. You can see as like the mouse is working here, so you can see this is this little area here. That's this is the agent or the shadow or the ghosting of an agent. Really, is probably the better way to describe it. Let me see if I can just manipulate this a little bit. Just a still mode. It should be able to play. Maybe it won't, but I don't know if you can see over here. You can see that this is very blurry. Now, this video in the other version of this video is very clear around this area. But it also does is it puts the car and the ICE agent very close to each other because of the angle that it's being shot at. When in the other video, in the main video, you can see that the agent has stepped away from the vehicle. He is about a foot or two away from the vehicle. He might still have his hand on it, but he has stepped away. But it's interesting to me. Let me see if I can blow this up even more. How blurry this section is, and the president had many options, but he chose this very, very, very blurry thing. And when we play it back for you here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it as clearly as I can, but you can see that. Let me see if I try to get a slightly wider view. That may help us a little bit here. You can see it's almost like a ghosting effect.
Yeah, he was already out of the way.
Yeah,
and that's
but it looks like he's in front still. It's like a weird ghosting. So I took these two pieces of video, I put them side by side, and matched the audio piece of it because that was important. That at least I could say, these markers are heard at the same time. And so the gunshots are the easiest to line up, and that's what I did. And I'm going to let it, you'll see what this looks like and the differences. Now, the main video is longer than the side-by-side video. So it looks a little bit out of sync. The timing doesn't match up completely. They did something else here, perhaps, that we're not really sure of. But I'll let it rip, and we'll talk after we see it here.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to want to see that again, so. Watch for how far the front officer is from the car as he pulls away here.
Can you play that again?
Yeah, I'll play it a third time. It's a little difficult to the audio as well, but. So I'll just keep replaying it if you want to give us your thoughts about it, and then I'll tell you what I think we found here. But go ahead.
No, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because to me it looks like he was already out of the way. He had his gun out, and he put his hand on the vehicle as it was moving to establish either it's far enough away from me, because if I was near a vehicle like that and it was coming at me, my first response would not have to pulled out a handgun. It would have been to jump back a foot or two and push myself off the vehicle.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And then everyone around him just walked away.
It's really interesting that everyone walks away, isn't it? It's not like, it almost feels like maybe the intention of this was to do this. I don't know. I'm not saying that out as a definitive thing, but it should be explored. He seems to have this, these guys all have this kind of death wish look in their faces, that they're just trying to find someone to get, which of course, in terms of a narrative that we were all expecting, this is what the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, was saying. The mayor was saying today that they were expecting something like this to happen in one of these days, because they know that what Donald Trump wants is the violence. He wants to see all that violence, and for him, that is going to be a tool that he can suppress people through the election process and through summer.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, I think Governor Walz said it really well: is do not give in. And I think the mayor said it really, really well too: is ICE, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want you. You're not making communities safer. What I've been saying in a lot of this too is this is what white supremacy run amok looks like.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when you let white nationalists and white supremacists take over countries and rule them, or authoritarians and fascists in general, is they create lawless states where violent acts are encouraged by street thugs and gangs.
Yeah.
If you
I'll
if
just
you
go.
don't know that, read Timothy Snyder's book
Yeah.
on tyranny, because that's what they're doing, is they're creating escalatory events. I think you're right. This is one of those. They want people to riot violently so that they can quash it.
Absolutely. I mean, that seems, why would you send 2,000 people into a city with everyone warning you that this could happen, and then, and then do it anyhow, and then not advise anyone? Now, you just watch here as the officer, as you can see, that officer is far away, and it's hard to tell from this angle completely, but I can assure you he's about a foot or 2 feet away from where the car is as she's turning. And she tries to avoid him. Clearly, it's obvious. She first tries to make a left. That doesn't work. So she turns right. In the video that Donald Trump has shared, it looks like she's just basically charging at this figure that disappears. It's sort of like an amorphous figure. So what they've done by slowing down this video and by taking it into a compressor and then putting it through Rumble, they've given it this grainy, distorted effect, and it looks maybe even more manipulated than we realize, that they've actually layered on the effect of someone in front of that car. I wouldn't put it past this video compression piece. Otherwise, why would you compress it so much? You wouldn't need to. Maybe the angle would tell you that story anyhow.
And the more I watch it on repeat here,
yeah,
and side by side, the more clear it is that that guy in the front was far enough back.
Yeah.
And that he clearly was not in danger. And it too, her tires were turned. Like, she was turning. She wasn't going to run him over. Everybody sees that in broad daylight. And this is the party's attempt to silence and write a narrative and rewrite events as they happen and manipulate them.
It really is. It's
can't let them do that.
No, they are trying to convince half the population that these leftists out there are ramming into ICE agents everywhere, and they have to respond, which means he's building the premise right now that he can say, well, I'm going to get tough with these guys. I'm sending in the military. I'm sending in the National Guard. I'm sending in whomever to crush these crazy leftists who are not letting these ICE people do their job. When in reality, that is not what happened. In reality, this woman is trying to get away from them, and they are shooting her in a cold-blooded way on a Minneapolis street. That's why this kind of manipulation is so very Russian, in terms of this is the stagecraft that they do, and they practice it so well, which is why it's kind of, after 10 years of running around looking at videos like this, you realize that this is operational procedure for the Russians. This is how they manipulate reality for the Russian people, but it's also how they got us into this mess in the first place, by dividing us, by polarizing us. What they're trying to do here is create a half of the population which says ICE is being attacked, and the other half of the population which is saying the protesters or the immigrants are being attacked. And that clash is what they're trying to make happen. And, we all remember George Floyd just, less than half a mile away from this location. And the shooting in Minnesota with what's his name? That brat, that 18-year-old kid. Can't remember his name. Remember that happened in and he shot.
Are you talking about, shit. I was going to say Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Asshole.
Yeah, so Kyle Rittenhouse is very similar to this. Kyle was basically sent in there, I think, in my investigation, basically with a loaded weapon to do his business under police protection, and shot two protesters. in order to create the feeling that he was being attacked and all this stuff was happening. It wasn't the case at all. And it just shows you the lengths that this kind of manipulation can go to. And feels to me similar to that. It feels like we're in that same constructed, it's reality, of course, but it's constructed reality.
Yeah, and it to me it also harkens very much back to George Floyd, and seeing him be murdered, and be held down for what was it, nine
Yeah,
minutes, until he died, and then just kept being held down. This is one of those moments, sort of watershed moments in the country of, at least in my opinion, of do we continue to let this happen? We've been saying this over and over again, specifically for the folks in America who aren't listening, which is tends to be the white people who look like me, who want to pretend that nothing is happening around them and that none of this is impacting them in any way, shape, or form, never will impact you. Renee Nicole Good was a mother. She was white. She was doing nothing other than exercising her First Amendment rights. And that's it.
yeah,
And if that doesn't terrify you at this point, it should, because they're not stopping at anyone. They are
yeah,
coming for all of us, and that's what it is. And like you said, it's Russian propaganda. It's this the they they have all of these 4D camera angles. They have all of these incredible close-ups. They have videos that people were taking up with the woman who was screaming,
mm,
about the incident, like that you showed on repeat. That and they chose the worst one, the most heavily manipulated one that looks like it could possibly have AI manipulation in it, because
it does.
we live in the age of AI when everything can be changed, and if it's grainy, who the fuck knows?
Yeah, and you can
And
imagine Donald
they
Trump being
do that
quite
on
happy.
purpose.
Yeah. I think it was,
Yeah,
this
and
is Russian propaganda. This is what they do in Russia. The fact that I heard as well, Elon Musk apparently shared some manipulated video today makes you
that
wonder.
wouldn't
And I'm sure
surprise me in
it doesn't
any
surprise.
fucking way.
And we know he gets his stuff from the Kremlin. Like we've proven it on the show that a lot of the propaganda that he shares comes directly from Putin's propaganda arm. I bet you this video through Rumble of all things will turn out to be the same thing. But when you pull back a little bit, you've got the president of the United States covering up the murder of an American citizen by distributing a fake video of the event in order to frame her for the event, for her own death. I mean, this
Mhm.
is the lunacy of where we are. The president of the United States, who should be unifying a country at this time, who should be using it as a teachable moment, who should be out there expressing his remorse, is in fact inflaming the situation, and he's blaming the victim for the crime.
And that goes with Donald Trump's MO on everything.
Mm,
Is he is an abuser and a victim blamer and a victim shamer, and he has been for his entire life. He is a adjudicated rapist, and sexual assaulter. He is convicted fraudster and other things.
we
He
just
is
had Jack
also,
Smith the other day say that he was responsible for January the 6th,
for
was
January
criminally
6th, he's a
responsible.
traitor.
Yeah,
He's a traitor. He is a rapist. He is a pedophile. He is a traitor. He is a Russian asset, and we should be treating him like such, and we should be talking about him like such. And aiding and abetting a criminal act by covering it up
no.
is a high crime or misdemeanor.
It's really important that
Period.
everyone
Point blank. Like
understands that
that's
this is
it.
obstruction. It's a lot of things that sound criminal to me. This doesn't sound to me like it's allowing the criminal, in this case the agent, to get away with a crime. It's manipulating the perception of the public so they can get away. It's like having a getaway car, basically.
And it's an attempt to silence people. It's an
Hmm.
attempt to further make people afraid to go out and protest or let their voices be heard. It's an attempt to send a message to say, if you're going to stop the SS Gestapo, ICE Gestapo that we have now, well, we're just going to kill you for it. If you're
Yeah.
going to speak up about it, we're just going to kill you for it.
And
This
they will
is
come
the
after
time
everybody. You know,
they will.
we've seen it
And
in
this
other
is the time
countries.
we have to all start coming out. Like, we keep saying this, we keep talking about this, we keep mentioning things like this. Is now is the time for an organized general strike, non-union and union alike. The United States needs to shut down. The United States needs to shut itself down by the force of the people.
And also, we should not be. Anne Blackburn is asking if we can show the video again. I will in a second. I also think it's really important that we know what he's baiting everyone to do. He wants violence on the streets based on race grounds and on immigration policy issues, and he wants kind of localized in cities. What he doesn't want is large scale protests in Washington D.C. to be focused on him. And you know, the narrative that they're trying to push us into versus the narrative that we should be building, or that the American people should be building, you know, we should be in charge of that narrative. Let's not fall into the storyline that he is trying to build for the American people, because it's, you know, that is going to result in more clashes. There'll be more agents provocateurs. There'll be all sorts of people in the crowds trying to make things worse. And you know, that's why I don't think these localized protests are necessarily the way to go in this case, in any event. This is the video again. We'll play it one more time here. I think this is what you're wanting to see, Anne. If you have any questions, then yeah.
Yeah, and then the claim that ICE officer who was walking towards the scene of the murder that he just committed was hospitalized and in
Yeah.
life-threatening condition in any sort of way. That's obstruction of justice.
Yeah, it's
Like,
ludicrous.
we have to call it what it is.
Yeah.
It is obstruction of justice. It is a conspiracy to cover up a murder.
Mhm.
This woman was executed point blank in the streets of America by a law enforcement agency of our government. It is state-sponsored terrorism.
And the president is lying about it. He is full up lying to the American people. The Secretary of Homeland Security is full up lying to the American people about what happened. You know, the people who are speaking the truth are the Mayor Fry, and you know, I've been playing him all day because he really is quite inspirational. And he said the one thing about getting, you know, the fuck out of the city, and I think everyone shares that. But he also had this very dramatic ending to his address that I ended earlier the show with it. But I think it's worth playing one more time here. I don't know what your timing is like. It's already 10:10, but
No, I'm okay for now.
let's take a look at what the mayor said in this really rousing, well-played, well-placed address today.
Look, we all know that the agenda of this Trump administration is to create chaos. Let us respond right now with our best versions of self. This is a moment where all of us in Minneapolis and beyond, we can rise to the occasion. We can show them who we are. We can show them the kind of courage, bravery, love, and compassion that makes Minneapolis, Minneapolis, and that makes America, America. We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love. We are going to meet that despair with hope. We are going to meet that injustice with constitutional justice ourselves. And we're going to make sure that in this very difficult moment, we do not take the bait that these ICE agents are trying to create and that the federal government, to be clear, wants. They want us to respond in a way that creates a military occupation in our city. They want an excuse to come in and show the kind of force that will create more chaos and more despair. Let's not let them. Let's rise to this occasion. Let's show them something far more beautiful than the kind of division that they're trying to stoke. Look, we all...
That is leadership. Right there is what it looks like. That is thinking clearly in the moment and giving your community the right advice, which they're heeding. It looks like everything is quite peaceful tonight in Minneapolis, as it always is. It's a very, ultimately still
It's a
quite
very peaceful
peaceful
city.
place. Yeah, very conservative in some ways, but of course liberal in others. And so you're seeing the mayor there, who's a Democrat, 44 years old, Jacob Fry, really making a stand on a national stage as well. What leadership looks like, understanding what the Trump regime is up to, and helping everybody understand what they should be responding in the way that makes sense. And in this case, it makes sense to not take that bait, as he said it. And Americans should not take the bait. We should not plunder or plunge ourselves into a summer of riots on a race base like George Floyd, because that's what they want us to do. They want those riots. They want people to go crazy. They want to be able to create opportunities for chaos. We need to stay focused on the president, who's a criminal, who's an illegitimate leader, who needs to be turfed out of power, who's done more criming, I think, this week than hundreds of people would do in a lifetime. I mean, just 1 week, what he did to Venezuela with the lying about all of that, the stealing of the oil, he's attacking Greenland. He's talking about going military. All this is crazy. It's crazy talk, but he is doing it on behalf of this fascist agenda that they're introducing. And Nick, when you said earlier, this is the time. There really is an opportunity for everyone to stand up.
Yeah, and I want to make sure too. I want to comment on something that came up in the chat from someone. Was they said it was a staged murder to create blowback chaos, sort of like Trump's assassination. I'm going to really, really hesitate on ever saying this was a staged murder. This woman was murdered. This wasn't staged. It may have been an attempt to stage an event as a false flag style. And I hope that's more what you mean.
It may have been a premeditated event.
Yeah.
It may have been
more of a premeditated false flag event than a staged murder, because I don't think this woman had any intention of being murdered today. I am pretty confident this woman went out to do her civic duty to her neighborhood and to her community because she thought it was the right thing to do, because it is the right thing to do to stand up for your neighbors, to stand up for those who do not have the same privilege or voice that you do. It is the right thing to do to stand up and say, no, you will not come into our neighborhoods. You will not snatch my friends and neighbors. She did not deserve in any way to be shot or murdered today.
Absolutely not.
She was. And we have to be very careful with words like that about like staged, because that has a very specific meaning when it comes to events like this. And this wasn't staged for this woman. If it comes out that she was, that would be something completely different. But you cannot convince me at this point in any way, shape, or form that this was staged in any way.
Because this looks a lot like what Putin did in those apartment fires in the Kremlin. This is the kind of thing where you want to create a sense of instability, so you can set up a circumstance where murder happens, where violence happens, but that violence is still very real, and the murder is still very real, and it's premeditated in this case on an unsuspecting suspect, on an unsuspecting victim. And you're right to parse those meanings, those definitions. But people have to remember that we know this narrative, and we know what he's trying to do. He's trying to, firstly, get away from the Epstein files, as far away from the Epstein files as he can. I'm pretty sure that is why Venezuela happened. That's why this is happening right afterwards. I'm not saying this was necessarily a completely planned event, but the 2,000 people being thrown into Minneapolis right after the Maduro thing, it all seems like a quick succession of headline-grabbing events in order to, really take over the news narrative and hide what? Hide two important things: that healthcare is being taken away from 22 million Americans. And the other very important thing is that he's involved in a criminal syndicate that is currently obstructing the release of the Epstein files, and that the Department of Justice is colluding in that obstruction by not following the law. And every time he does one of these things, you just realize there must be some really damning stuff in there for him to be working overtime, as it were, to hide that story.
So I want to ask you a question, Zev, because you probably know these numbers a little bit better than I do, because you do a lot of look into some of the numbers. Do you know how many people it is claimed that Nicolas Maduro murdered in his dictatorial
Uh,
reign?
I think I published about this earlier on. They say it's about 75. I think the number that I've seen is 75. Now that is involved potentially 32 Cuban.
No,
Um,
sorry. Not in taking Nicolas Maduro out of the country. How
yeah.
many murders is Nicolas
Oh,
Maduro actually like said to be accounted for as the president
oh,
of
thousands. I think
Venezuela?
thousands.
Thousands. Okay.
I think it's thousands. And by the
So,
way, the theft of billions and billions of dollars out of that economy.
and that sounds an awful lot like our president.
Mhm,
Like if we had not mentioned a name before that, and I
mhm.
just asked who has killed thousands and thousands of citizens in their own country, who has caused billions to trillions of dollars worth of theft, who is causing their country to be less safe, who's taking away health care from their citizens and taking away mandatory reporting and vaccination requirements for children. It's not Venezuela, but it is the dictatorial asshole who is in charge of the US government.
That's
So,
because it's the same playbook. I mean, at
yeah,
the end of
it's
the
the
day,
same playbook, but what right do we have to then go into Venezuela
oh, we
and
have no
say,
rights.
"Oh, that," and that's the like we need to fix ourselves at home. So for anybody who's celebrating that Nicolas Maduro was taken out, do I like the guy? Do I think he was a good leader? No. But our president is a pedophile. Our president is a human trafficker and sex trafficker and child rapist and money launderer and adjudicated fraudster and has people who are in the White House to enrich him and his family and has professionals in the heads of organizations to kill Americans. Robert F. Kennedy is going to kill more Americans than Nicolas Maduro could have ever killed in Venezuela.
Certainly from this fentanyl trade, which has never now come up, which hasn't come up once since
Yeah, he
the.
hasn't mentioned it.
Yes, I thought that was the whole
Where's the
point.
fentanyl indictment? And
Yeah.
that's another one too, is the armed conflict is stated to be a war on narco terrorism.
Mhm.
Yet
Yeah.
there's no mention of narcotics or terrorism in any of the indictments.
The scary thing is what Maduro and Chavez before him did to Venezuela is they took a very thriving country and they gutted it. They stole so much money. The people who survived that whole process describe how day after day after day the criming was going on. The billions were being siphoned off from every part of that economy. And that sounds an awful lot like what is happening to America right now. Why is the repo rate, overnight repo rate, the lending rate to all these banks being completely abolished in terms of a limit? There used to be a limit for that repo rate. Now banks are basically can take as much money out of the Fed as they want on overnight lending to stabilize their books. What is going on with crypto? What is going on with the stock market, which is artificially high? What is going on with all these tariffs that he has control over that money? And now he wants all the oil money. That money is disappearing from America in the same way that Chavez and Maduro have made it disappear out of Venezuela. And we are going to wake up one day like Venezuelans are, realizing that their country is completely bankrupt. According to Marco Rubio, they only have a few weeks of money left in their fund, which is why he's so convinced that they'll work with America because we're the ones willing to fund him, fund them. But the truth of it is that is where America is heading: the destruction of the U.S. dollar, a complete destruction of our wealth, the theft of everything that you and your parents and your grandparents have worked to make America, and they are, going to pillage all of that. They're busy doing it right now. I'm convinced of it, and that's so. None of this is artificial or created or anything. This is happening, and there is not much difference between Maduro and Trump.
No. And they're using events like this to further divide so that it's easier to take and plunder those resources from us, because the more angry we are at each other, the easier it is for them to steal from us, rob from the blind while they divide and conquer. And going back to the video itself too, there was a comment that I want to pull up or find. There was a comment that I wanted to. Was around body cams. Was I don't have an answer if there are any body cams. I don't know if
From today or
from today from the shooting.
there must
And
be.
if
I mean,
they wouldn't be released yet.
they are going to be. I mean, I don't know why these people have not been arrested. I don't know why they get 72 hours of containment. Apparently, I've never heard of anything like that. But apparently, they get 72 hours where they get to like go make sure that their stories align or something. These are murderers, cold-blooded murderers, and they should be under arrest, regardless if they're federal agents or not. We need to find out who they are. And you also shared another angle before we go here that's worth showing everybody. This is yet another view of today's. Let me see if I can find it now. I knew I had it here. Here we go. Of today's shooting, and it just again confirms what we've been saying. But it's worthwhile for everyone to spend a minute here, just taking a look at this one last angle, and then we'll wrap up. Sorry,
and I'll drop the link to it because it is also posted on Substack through Arturo Dominguez's page as one of his notes. So
great.
For anyone who wants to be able to see it, also is I'll just drop the link in the Substack chat for folks.
Okay. That's great. Let's take a quick look here.
Get the fuck out of our neighborhood!
Perfect.
And you can't see the shooter at that angle. But we did have that still image too, if you have that one.
I do. Let me find
and I
it.
don't know where exactly in the time.
I'm going to let it play one more time here. And I do have other videos of the shooter as well, which I'll post as well. I didn't have time to isolate them for this, but the shooter is very clear in one of these videos. You can see his face. Let me just pull it up here. This, I think, is what you're referring to. And I'm sorry, this is taking a little longer. Try one more time. It was where here?
Dude, what the fuck?
It's not letting me do it for some reason, and I think it's got to do with. I just maybe it's processed in the wrong format. So we'll post it underneath this video, and it is a picture of the shooter. And I have other video where you can see close up the shooter as he's getting away from the scene. And I want to say getting away in a normal. In fact, I can show it to you right now. I'm going to just try to do this here, and then we'll wrap up if we can. Will it play? It won't play either because I can't. I don't know why it's not picking up any of the new videos that I'm placing, but you can actually see him walking away. It's very. He doesn't seem at all perturbed by what he just did. You don't get a sense at all that he's upset, that he's done anything here, and it's very disturbing to watch this sort of brazen. He just shot somebody and he's just walking away like nothing happened. It really very, very disturbing video to watch. And I'm not going to try find it for you now because I think I'm trying to achieve a miracle.
The nature of them being so accustomed to like this type of violence and like the lack of emotion that they have through this type of violence is really disturbing.
What is that? Why is that happening? What kind of training are they getting that they're completely like machines, that they hate the Americans so much they're not even maintaining the idea that they're doing anything wrong? They're just so appalled by Americans in general that they're willing to. This is him, by the way, on the left, I believe.
To me, it's not training that they're getting. It's they are just they're so indoctrinated and desensitized through either a nihilist movement of these black pillars who want to accelerate everything towards the end, or they're just so brainwashed to believe that they are better in every way, and that they're allowed to do this. No one's going to stop them. So you put that mask on, and in psychology, they've done these studies is roughly like 28, I think it is, percent of people will always follow like the authoritarian path, and if you give them a mask, that number goes up because you're less likely to be held accountable for your actions, and that mask acts as a shield for you to hide who you are and say, "Ooh, I can just do anything I want if nobody knows my face."
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting analysis. This is him, apparently. I saw this earlier on. I can't confirm that it's him, but this is apparently. I'll play the video a little bit. You can see what happens as he's texting somebody, I think. And then...
Yeah, this dude doesn't care.
And then he's like, let's go, let's roll, we're out of here. But someone is going to recognize him if he's not been identified yet.
Yeah,
and that bravado.
This is somebody who is accustomed to violent acts either at home or just in his life in general. And that's what he manifests it outwards as, is he is okay with violence because violence is what he thinks is the only way to either be an authority figure in his life. He's probably an abuser of some sort. I can't say for sure because I don't know who he is, but it would not surprise me if this man was abusive to his spouse or his children, if he's had a history of violent acts in the past, because that's what these
people be very disturbing. Just watch what you're going to be watching, but be careful here, guys. If this triggers you, turn away.
And from what I heard too, before we close anything out, is it sounded like they turned away a doctor at the scene.
That's indeed what I heard, that as this was happening, a doctor approached them to offer some life support to the victim, and he was turned away. They wanted to wait for paramedics. I have a video, an image of what that may have looked like. I don't want to say for sure that that's the doctor, but it looks like someone who's certainly been kept away from the scene. This just in general, and we should end, obviously, but there's no one seems to be caring that this happened here. You know, these guys just committed murder and they are walking away, getting away from the scene as if nothing happened. You know, it's bone chilling.
They were told they get to do this.
This is the job.
They get a hard-on for this stuff. There's some sort of gratification they get out of this. This is the only thing that brings them any sort of feeling in their life, is what it would come down to me, is when you're that emotionally broken or that willing to just kill people in this way, just point blank, no attempt to de-escalate, no attempt to rationalize or follow any laws that the U.S. has. He put his gun up to her fucking window.
And you can see that that's the same guy. That is, in fact, very much him. I'll put it back here, but you can see, and this is useful as well in terms of our understanding of how far away he was from that door. So it's hard to see when you slow it down, but
he's a full arm's length away.
Yeah.
By the end of it, at minimum, when he has his gun, so the way he is pointed right there, and he has his weapon pointed at her window, at her driver window, his hand is fully extended out, and he's far enough back that
1.5
he is
feet.
able to extend his arm with a 9mm pistol.
Yeah.
Far enough away to shoot it point blank at a window. He was not in threat of his life.
Not at all.
Executed her.
That's exactly what he did. He executed this woman in cold blood today on the street as she was trying to get away from him, and they are framing it as her trying to ram him, which is, of course, you can see none of that is happening. And did he look injured to you after all of this? There he is standing. And
He
then,
was walking. He was walking back. He walked towards the vehicle.
yeah,
Then we see him walking away, putting his mask back up, texting on his phone like nothing.
yeah.
Hey man,
Oh,
I just killed someone.
yeah. Oh, should I
Cool.
leave now? Okay,
LOL.
I'll leave. It's
Yeah.
basically, it's stunning as we look at this. And, I didn't really spend enough time in this particular video. These guys don't care that they've just committed murder.
No, they pack up and they leave. They
Yeah.
don't stay for state law enforcement to get there to assess the situation. They don't wait for any
And what's he gone for?
real,
Is he checking to
like,
see, did he get it? Did he get her? Is that what he's gone for?
I don't
Like,
know.
what did
Because,
he
like,
walk all the way there to the car to do, if not to just say, oh, yeah, she's dead, let's leave?
I think that's it. I think that's what you just said is probably it is, oh, she's dead. Roll
Yeah,
out.
roll
Let's
out.
go.
We did
That's
it.
what
Okay,
that
it's
means.
done.
Just roll out. Let's go. They did what they wanted to do. They accomplished their goal. They cleared that woman out of their way without whatever means they felt necessary. These are the same people that believe that it's okay for folks to drive through protesters
Hmm.
if they're protesting something that they don't like. But
Yeah.
they will shoot you if you're too close to them after they approach your vehicle. These are the same people that would go out and scream, run over protesters if they're in the street. These are those types of folks that just
This is also
murder.
just, the more I look at the behavior of this man, it does feel like this was a premeditated murder. That she might have just been in the wrong place because they were coming after somebody
Mhm.
today, and they were going to get somebody today. And it's not surprising maybe then it's, just a short walk away from where George Floyd happened. You want the same sentiments, you want the same tension to be riled up, you want the same group of people involved. You just threw the Somali fraud allegation into the mix on purpose, completely made up fraud allegation against the governor and the Somali population. And so you are starting to see the makings of a of a narrative here that they're trying to create. They did create a
Yeah,
narrative.
the officers that did the shooting are now gone.
Mm.
There's no paramedics there. There's no ambulance. The state and local police have not shown up at this point yet.
Mhm. They're still putting away here.
They didn't call this in.
No.
No, the ICE didn't call this in as a murder. ICE didn't call this in as somebody got shot. The only reason that any state or local enforcement officers would have been notified is unless they were already on the scene, and if they were, they should have arrested that individual. This guy looks like he belongs in the Proud Boys,
Yeah,
or is
and
part of one of the KKK gangs.
And he also just drove up to the scene and didn't seem to react to the fact that there was a murder that had just happened. I mean, none of these people seem to be reacting to the actual events. They're sort of executing something, but not or someone, but they're not actually responding to a crime. And these are law enforcement officials. It's kind of just bizarre. You're so right to point out the fact that there's no one around. And who is this guy? Who are these people?
Yeah, they're just showing up with vehicles that have flashing blue and red lights, but they don't have warrants. They're not producing signed warrants by a judge.
Mhm.
They have their whatever internal warrant that doesn't hold up in court, and they aren't showing their faces. They're not showing their badges. They're not showing ID numbers. They don't have body cams. They don't seem to respect any laws other than might makes right, and that is not the law in the US. It is not might makes right in the US. Those are not our laws. We have a due process system. If this woman was actually obstructing and she had actually hurt a law enforcement officer, say like the January 6 rioters 5 years ago who killed at least one law enforcement officer and who violently attacked the White House, they had more right to have been shot by the Capitol Police than this woman ever would have. And the fact that the Capitol Police did not shoot any of them in any way or at any point shows you that these people are out here to do it on purpose. Because trained law enforcement officers who fought off an insurrection where they planted the Confederate flag in our Capitol had more willpower and ability to say, I'm not going to shoot, than this asshole did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're seeing here as we're building the case here, it seems to me that what we're seeing is a premeditated assault on this woman, an attack on her to murder her, and then to frame her for her own murder by claiming that she is ramming people intentionally in order to stop these immigration things that are happening. I just want to play the side-by-side video one more time for everybody, and then we'll definitely
And it
call it.
even, while you're playing that, it even looked like another vehicle in the video you had just shown drove away as she was first trying to move. It looked like she was trying to leave originally, and then another vehicle all the way back in the beginning when.
Oh, I wonder if they re-reacted on the show here, because I hadn't seen this. This is the actual. This is a new, clear video that we had not seen. I wonder if it's got audio here. Let me see.
So she tried to leave there.
Yeah.
It looked like she was getting out of the way.
She was turned left. Look at her tires.
Yeah, she was turning, and then that other vehicle drove in front of her and stopped.
Now she's reversing to get away from him, and then she turns right.
And you have no obligation in the United States to get out of your vehicle just because a law enforcement officer comes up to your door. You have no obligation to leave your vehicle. You don't even have to roll down your window more than.
If any masked man comes up to my ID. Yeah, this is a masked man. This is it could be anybody coming up to your door. You wouldn't open the door to them. It's not even there's an obligation. You'd be absolutely right to drive away and get away from that scene. And for good reason, because this guy's a cold-blooded murderer. That is really a good find. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I think it's there's a lot more that needs to be studied here. I'm going to play you again just to show you what we think has happened today. Is there is a propaganda video that the President of the United States has tweeted out or truthed out, which looks manipulated. We're not sure to what extent it's been manipulated, but we can tell you that it was slowed down and compressed and then put out of a rumble in order to obscure the actual events that were taking place and to make it look like this woman's car was ramming into the ICE agent when in fact he was more than 1 foot or 2 feet away almost. And in the video, it looks like there's some sort of ghosting effect. We'll show it to you now, where you can see what looks like someone being run over, or like a ghost shadow, someone being run over in front of the car.
It almost looks like there's extra legs.
Yeah, and what they've done is they've just blurred out that it looks like it's AI manipulated, to be honest. But it looks like there's something going on there. This is, trademark, professional grade propaganda.
This is Orwellian. This is 1984. This is them trying to rewrite in real time.
Yeah. That is where we leave it tonight. Nick Parro from Sick of the Shit Productions and from Banner and Backbone, thank you for joining us again. You're always he's always available and always with such a terrific insight. If you're not following Nick, you ought to be, and you should definitely be subscribing, become a paid subscriber. Nick does extraordinary work and is dedicated as anyone in terms of helping us understand America's real crisis right now. We really are. In the kind of crisis none of us would have expected, but here we are. And it requires people like Nick, it requires people like you at home to think about what you can do every single day. Because that's what it's going to take. This is not going to happen on its own. This administration is not going anywhere unless it's removed. And so it's going to need some very smart people and every person to do something every single day. Nick, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up really well. As the big thing is go continue to get out there and be engaged. Use this as a moment, if you hadn't been engaged before, to go out and get engaged, because now your voice is more important than ever. And if we want to have a country where people aren't just gunned down in the streets all the time just for putting out their voice and demonstrating and standing up to authoritarianism, now is the time to speak out. And thanks again for the invite tonight, Zev. I always appreciate coming on with you and getting to have these discussions and going over these types of events.
We really appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you at home for taking the time to be with us tonight and for supporting our work. It doesn't happen unless you're there to make it happen, and thank you so much for all your support. It's been a long day at Narrative, but we shall be back tomorrow. I'll see you at 3 o'clock for the 5 stack, and I'm sure there'll be lots of other things we'll be covering tomorrow. But we want to leave you with one last thought. The murder today was of a woman named Renee Nicole Good. Remember her name, the 37-year-old who was gunned down by an ICE agent. That is the story today. That is the story that we must keep telling. That's the name that should be on your lips. Renee Nicole Good, the woman who deserves to be remembered as a tragedy that happened today in Minneapolis. Please use her name. Please share her picture, and let's not forget that why she died, and let's make sure that she doesn't die or didn't die in vain. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.